Hi, welcome to Image Critique. I'm Rob Knoll, joined here as usual with Bryan Caparici. Thanks so much for sending your photos in for critique. And today, it's a wedding reception photo. Bryan,
Awesome,
what are
love
your
it. Okay,
thoughts?
so there was this thing that I actually remember. I don't know if you remember this. Story Wilkin taught this concept many years ago, and it stuck to me for some reason. It's a great way of looking at capturing candid photography. She says for every person or every good expression you have, kind of give yourself a check, and you want to try. And it's almost like a scoring system. You want to try and check off as many things as you can. So I look at this image, and I'm saying, okay, great expression, love that, check. Love this guy over here. He's having a good time. This guy's jacked. I love his expression. You can see him, check. So we've got I had to count that. 5 check marks going on in this shot. So first of all, fantastic work to the photographer. This is a great candid capture. You've got a lot of good moments happening in this shot. And so that's just point number one. In candid photography, especially wider captures like this at the reception, I think it just contributes to the mood, to the excitement, to the party atmosphere, and you've got all these expressions that are positively contributing to that mood you want to create. So great job on the capture. I'm also really impressed with the lighting on this shot. I have no idea how the photographer set the lighting up in this particular image, but I love that we've got the bride as the most well lit subject in the shot, and everyone else sort of fades away. I think that's really well done. It keeps our focus there, and I think it avoids any concern. If you had lit this more of like if the whole thing was lit more evenly, you'd be seeing way more of the ceiling. You'd be seeing the details up here. You'd be seeing the vents over here. You'd be seeing a lot more details back over here. But I think because the way that this image is lit, it keeps our focus right here on the bride. And I think that's really well done. If I wanted to tweak this a little bit, I might tone down this side of the photograph a little bit, because I think this guy's face is a little bit too bright, and especially because he's almost taken up like half of the image. It's and he's very close to the camera. It's a little distracting. I might just kind of burn that down a tiny little bit, even add a gradient in Lightroom to just kind of add a bit of a gradient going in there. I like the low angle. I think that's well done. It's not too over exaggerated. Everyone still looks relatively flattering. I might just retouch out some of the details in the ceiling just to kind of clean it up a tiny little bit, just to keep the distractions away. Again, it's so difficult to sort of say, like, well, if you could change your angle, if you could move to camera right a tiny little bit, and if you could have gotten more of this in the background of the bride, we could have avoided these details that are, for me, just a tiny little bit distracting. But in a candid capture like this, I realize that you're sort of working with the moment that you have. So I think that the photographer did a great job doing that. The only other small tweak is we have, and again, like, it doesn't bother me a ton, but there is a bit of a crooked horizon, and I would just maybe want to just kind of fix that, or as you're shooting, just kind of be a little bit more aware of that. So this is a really tough image to critique, because in a candid capture like this, you can get into all these technical sort of pieces of feedback, but when you're there in the moment photographing this particular event, you're kind of rolling with the punches. But I think the photographer did a spectacular job, all things considered.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's all very, very subjective. And I
Yeah.
think for me, actually, I don't really mind the fact, and I don't think it really bothers you that much either,
Right.
if I read that right. Because it is that thing, right? It's that honest, candid moment.
Yeah.
And the fact that you got the shot
Yeah.
is the most really important thing
Yeah.
there. The one thing that really sort of strikes me when I look at this shot is I have a feeling I'd probably like this even better in black and white.
Totally.
There isn't a lot of color in it. I mean, the most color we have is really just in the actual handkerchief itself, but it's not a super bold color. So I'd be really interested to see this shot in black and white, and I think it would actually potentially have even more impact. And I'll tell you why. It's this coloring all through here, all this yellow kind of, I guess it's wood in the background. And I feel as though if that were rendered to a gray tone, I would probably be keeping my eye where it most needs to stay. And that is in the brightest part of the image, which is right here. That's where the eye is going to go. There are some great things happening here. One of the things that I see are some fantastic leading lines that sort of keep you focused in this quadrant, this little area here. So I love this guy here. I think this guy here is so important to the photograph because he's creating the sight line directly to the bride. He literally leads your eye to go to look at her face. And as Bryan mentioned, like all the different expressions are all great. We can't really see this guy, but we sort of get the sense that he's having a good time too. I agree. I think some of these, even just these sort of metal posts, even if those were just taken out specifically, that would improve the shot quite a bit. I agree. I think that should come out as well. If I was going to go all out, I'd probably take those little buttons out of there too. But that sort of comes into a place where people say, but how far do you go with this stuff? It's supposed to be a candid shot. It's supposed to be an honest representation of the wedding day. So with that thinking in mind, I probably don't want to go crazy overboard in having to go in and retouch every single candid shot I did because there's too many real things in the background. I think you have to decide what it is you're trying to represent at somebody's wedding. This is by no means a glamour shot of the bride. It's an awkward angle for her, but I don't think she's going to care because her expression says it all. She's got these guys lifting her up in the air. That's the kind of shot that's a lot of fun. It makes her remember the moment. She can literally relive the reception through that photograph. So I think for that reason alone, this photograph is doing its job. Certainly, I would like to see a little more detail. If especially we're turning it to a black and white, I think this guy is completely blocked up, and I would love to see a little bit more shadow detail in there, especially if you're going to go to a black and white image. But overall, I agree with Bryan that it's a great capture of a very difficult situation. When the crowd's going crazy like this and you're getting bounced out of the way by people, you take your life into your hands a little bit trying to get in there and get that photograph. So to the photographer, you did a nice job capturing that moment.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on this image critique. If you'd like to have your images critiqued, send us a direct message on Instagram, and we'll give you the link of where you can submit your images.